You understand?
The answer is yes.
It is possible.
No.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
It's possible.
This has been happening. This is where the basis for all of our work. Everyone learns differently, and that's the key. Everyone learns differently, even in this room. And if you all notice, when you came into this room, some of you have been with us before, some of you were brand new, and we work not to be too technical. We work hopefully to be interesting. We work to bring you new information. Everyone learns differently in the world, and we are a microcosm of that. And the truth is, the honest truth is, that there are many people that don't see the relevance for this work in their lives, in their world. But I agree that we are, in the past, and I'm going to say Joe Dispenza and I have had this conversation, and Joe and Bruce and I had, all three of us, and Lynn to some degree in the way that you did, we made a choice to leave the traditional path that disseminates information. We could have stayed in a university environment, published peer-reviewed papers that it takes years to get out, that very few people would see, and some obscure journal. And Bruce and I talked about this. We both made a choice. We said, let's take well-researched information and let's bypass that system and go directly to the mainstream, to the general public, because we need this now. And well, thank you. Joe did the same thing. And I want to tell you how quickly this works. In 2008, I released a book that was called The Divine Matrix. It is the science of the field that connects all things. It was considered a fringe book, fringe science, pseudoscience. And when I went to my own hometown to do my book signing, I went to the bookstore and the book wasn't in the front. And so I started looking at the bookshelves. I couldn't find it on any bookshelves. And so I asked, I said, where is the book that I am signing tonight? She said, oh, it's on the occult bookshelf in the back of the room. All right, that was 2008. Now, 10 years later, what happened is that book is required reading in physics and science classes. It is the basis for mainstream television specials. A movie called Entanglement is based upon that with Hollywood actors. And it's common knowledge. Everybody knows that there's a field that connects all things. Lynn is a big part of bringing that information forward. So that's how quickly it can change, by coming from the grassroots up. And what's happening, and what we're doing, I just want to tell you what you're doing right now, is when you accept as your everyday truth the facts of what is being shown here, science has to catch up with you. Your doctors have to catch up with you. When you stop going to your medical doctor because you know more about whatever's happening, as Joe said yesterday, than they do. And this is what is happening. Science is struggling to stay relevant in the mainstream, and they've got to catch up with the new, deep truths of our existence that we're bringing forward. So in a very real sense, it is happening from the grassroots up, from the top down.
One fact to give you about this. One fact. The wellness industry is now 3 times larger than the pharmaceutical industry.
Wow, I didn't know that. Awesome.
If you want to know what a grassroots movement is, that's what it is.
Thank you.
Good question, thanks.
We'll move to another question. All the way down there, we'll give a chance to that part. Please stand up with the black shirt. Yes.
Hi. For the heart-brain harmony, Greg, that you're talking about, for the 0.1 hertz, can you recommend a binaural beat that would help induce that state quicker for people who may be in a more stressed environment?
The question is, can I recommend something that would help someone to move into the 0.1 hertz?
Binaural beats.
You know, the thing I would recommend is take a walk in nature. And okay. Honest to God, because nature, you're like laying the foundation for what I'm going to do this afternoon. The 0.1 hertz is a fundamental heartbeat of Mother Earth, and this is why it feels so good to us to take a walk in the forest, to go down by the water. I live in the high desert, to walk in the mountains, because what we're doing is our body is naturally coming into harmony with that fundamental heartbeat. If you want, there are Jonathan Goldman, my dear friend, spiritual brother Jonathan Goldman. I've known him over 30 years. Is a pioneer in sound healing. And he does have recordings that will help to do that. But I'm just transparency here. I am a purist, all right? And I'm not into gadgets if we don't need them. And I would much prefer going to the source of Mother Nature. Jonathan's work is awesome. If you can't get out, check out his CDs. I actually used one of them yesterday when we did our Heart Brain Harmony yesterday afternoon. That was Jonathan Goldman's CD that I was using with you because we weren't in nature. So the answer is yeah, that's what I would do. Good question, thanks.
By the way, the Jonathan Goldman track is the track that I play with the intention experiments too. Yeah, Reiki Chance.
Yeah, okay, we're
Reiki
good.
Chance, Choco Ray.
I'm going to text Jonathan today and tell him we sang his praises.
Lynn, which track is that? Some people were asking exactly.
It's called Choco Ray. It's from the album Reiki Chance. And it also came about by accident because the very first intention experiment, I thought, we were doing it in a conference like this, and I thought, gosh, 10 minutes. It's going to be a long time for people to do this if they haven't done it before. So I said to my husband, run down to the bookstore, Bri, get us a track. So he goes there to the bookstore owner and he says, what should I play? What should I get? And he says, here, take Reiki Chance. This is good. Try the first track. So we played it, Choco Ray. And my program for doing intention is called Powering Up. And later we discovered that Choco Ray for Reiki masters, it means essentially powering up. There are no accidents.
The track I used yesterday was from a CD entitled Holy Harmony. It's the whole side is one track. So
yes,
it's one piece.
There's a lady, please stand there. Yeah. Yes, you. Yes. Yes, Gertrude, if you can give her.
Coming.
Yeah, please stand again. Stand again. There you go.
This one?
Yeah, in white shirt.
Yeah. All the way.
Okay, you have, okay, you have the mic, you can ask too.
That's okay, you're all in the field.
Yeah, okay. Yay. Thank you very much. And thank you for your incredible bravery for denouncing vaccines and such, because it's a real problem for anybody that's in the healthcare field, because we are at the mercy of legal battles, etc. So we're always discounting what we believe in. So my question is there a plan, is there society something, let me rephrase that. I belong to Transition Towns, which is all about peak oil, etc. Do we have an equivalent in healthcare looking at how do we create a new health paradigm, looking at the pursuit of the fulfillment of mind, body, and spirit as the epitome of health? And what does that do to reshape the structure of society? So I'm looking at the municipal laws. What do we do at a municipal level to shape a society that supports the pursuit of each individual to reach their full potential, mind, body, and spirit?
Well, there are different ways of, it's a good question. It's a little bit of a complex question, and I'm just going to share my perspective of one part of that. Well, I live in a rural community in northern New Mexico, and it is kind of a microcosm of what I see happening in other parts of the world. And I'm not going to say it's only because of the vaccines, but the vaccines are what pushed the community over the edge. Public schools said to the parents, your children can only attend if you receive X number of vaccines. Well, this is a holistic community. People grow their own food, they drink their own water out of their own wells. I mean, they're digging their own wells just to make sure they're good wells, so there's no chemicals in the wells. They're refusing to vaccinate their kids. So now what they are doing is they have formed homeschool communities, and they are educating their young people, bypassing the public school system. The public school system is now taking a hit because the kids, 40% of the kids in northern New Mexico are now homeschooled up through the 6th grade. So they're not in the public schools. They're trying to make this illegal. They're also trying to make it illegal for people you can still grow your own food, but they're making it illegal for you to share your food in the farmer's market or share your food with other people. They said because of hygiene, because they can't guarantee the hygiene. So what's happening is enough people are, 40%, that's a big part of the population. By the way, they also are doing this with the tax system. They are using over 40 to 50% is the estimate, are using barter in northern New Mexico, bypassing the system, and they've created barter communities. So they are forming their own communities to provide what they need in the way they want to do it. And the pure economy, the economics of what they're doing is forcing the public regulators to rethink what it is that they are mandating. So I think this may be one of the ways that this, not the only way, but it may be one of the ways this happens.
What? I didn't get the full question.
Do you want me to go ahead then? We also have to remember that there is an extensive wellness community out there already. You know, there are amazing, we write about alternative treatments of all varieties and what doctors don't tell you. And I am just blown away by the breadth and the reach of these modalities to heal people. And so it is about, we have that already. And as Greg said, sometimes it all comes down to money. You know, and it's not just the alternative communities that are embracing an alternative way. Believe it or not, the conservative Christian churches, they hate big pharma. They hate vaccinations. They have an overwhelming number of kids that are being homeschooled now. So it's about, you know, local communities coming together and saying no more, and being able to insist that with both their local political power, but they're also paying with their wallets and refusing to go that route. And also, we have to recognize, too, the number of doctors now who are embracing integrative medicine, who are using I mean, that is an amazing, amazing movement in North America. Absolutely brilliant. You know, it's just taking off in the UK, but we see in huge, huge numbers here where doctors are really looking to alternative ways of healthcare. So I think it is a combination of our wallet power, our you know, the power of the dollar, and also the power of the local vote, plus connecting with the doctors, the integrative doctors who are there. There are loads and loads of them practicing all over America, and I'm sure the same for Canada. And just connecting with them and just pushing the paradigm forward.
Yeah, you know, I think we have to bear in mind, we are in the midst of a transition. And if you're in the middle of it, sometimes it's hard to see it because you're in it. But we'll look back on this time 30 years from now, and we're going to look back and say, this is where the choices were made, because a lot of the medical doctors are good people. They're doing what they know, what they have been taught. This is why Bruce left teaching, so that he could inform people of what they know. So you cannot beat Western medicine for diagnostics, all right? It's the best diagnostics. What you do after the diagnostics, those are where the alternatives are coming in. And a lot of I go to a holistic MD, and he's really open-minded. He and his wife, they have a practice together. And what he'll say to me, he'll say, Greg, I don't understand everything that you are doing, but it seems to work for you, and I'm open to learning, and I will support you in your learning process. When I talk to him about an herbal therapeutic dosage of a standardized high-potency nutrient versus a prescription. And I'll bring him in the documentation that say, here's the placebo, here's these the herbs, here's the prescription, look at the side effects. And he's open to that. And I think he is an example of what we're seeing. So it is a transition. It's not like this is where it is. We're seeing, I mean, we've only had this kind of medicine for about 130 years. And we're seeing this transition. And 30 years from now, I think you're going to see a very different medical model. But they're all doing the best they can. Most of them. I'm going to say most of them are doing the best they can.
I'd like to just add to that very simply on the money issue. You vote with money. That's a simple line. You put your money in a place and that will grow and the other ones will die. And the other important thing is that we've been talking about, less than 1% of disease is actually something organically wrong with us. And if we understand that, then why are we having all this disease? And the answer is because we're not living in harmony. If we start living in harmony, that whole damn thing will collapse because we don't need them. We make our own pharmaceutical drugs in our own head, and we can create anything we want. We just have to have some kind of evidence to ourselves to prove to yourself you can do this. You need to know how to do this, because once you do, you are free. You are not a victim anymore. And I so appreciate it, because I haven't had a doctor since 1992, and that's only had a doctor because Stanford paid for it. once they sent me a bill from the insurance company, I thought, what, are you crazy? I can't afford that health insurance. So the reality is, when you take your power back, you are no longer a victim. You are creating. You are a creator. That's what we've been talking about. What do you want to create? This or something different? And as Greg and Lynn said before as well, you could fight the system, but it's not worth it. Why? You put your energy against them. They have more energy against you. They neutralize your energy. You just wasted your entire time. The only way to successfully do this, step outside the system and create the one you want. And that's what Greg was just talking about.
Thank you. We said yesterday that's Buckminster Fuller. Buckminster Fuller said you'll never change the existing system by fighting it. He said if you want a new way of living, find a better way to do what you want to do, and the old system will simply fall away. If everybody stops following the old system, there's nothing there to support it. So you don't have to fight it. Yeah.
I've always wanted to start a movement that would ask people to stop buying a particular drug, everybody in a whole country for one day, and just make that the statement. And boy, we could start with opioid painkillers, eh?
Hey.
Janice,
thank you. Our mic runners, thank you for running.
Yes, thank you, Janice.
Thank you. This is for Bruce Lipton. So I just want to thank you. As a physician, you changed my life.
You changed your life.
Well, with your information. But this is actually a question. Your presentation today was so wonderful. And I'm a mother, and this information needs to go to children, smart children. And I thought you were so powerful. I went to school for 22 years. You're an amazing teacher. He is
a professor in the university.
Yeah.
I download very well, don't I?
Yes, you do. I went to medical school, and you would have been one of the lectures I wouldn't miss. And if you go to medical school, you know you miss a lot because you have to study. So I just want to say, have you thought of, I don't know if you know who Dr. Quantum is, but making a series of videos available for children so that they can learn this? Because like my son and daughter absorb this stuff. My daughter's 10, and one day at dinner she said, "Mom, I can't really explain it, but there's no time." So like, really, just you're so gifted, and it's so hard to engage kids, especially special kids who are so bored. This is such important information, I think, for kids from 5 to wherever. So I just wanted to know if you'd ever thought about doing this.
Oh, obviously. Yeah.
We got a new
appreciate that very
assignment,
much because,
Bruce.
as we talk about, the whole fact is children are programmed from the last trimester of pregnancy through age 7. Consciousness does not kick in as a brain function fully until after age 7. That means that our consciousness is below alpha, it's in theta, which is hypnosis. So a child is in their state of hypnosis for the first 7 years. And the issue is this. It's called conscious parenting. We have to recognize that what people say to their kids is not being comprehended by consciousness, it's just being downloaded. And this is the biggest issue because parents don't recognize everything they say and do is being copied by that child. So if we want to help the children, first we have to get the adults to understand because they're the teachers of children. And this is why it goes back to us, not the school, but to you and to you and to you. Every one of us is a teacher. And if we start teaching the young kids, they will not be trapped in the victimization that this system has put upon us. We are not victims. We are creators.
This is the key. This is the key. Who asked that question? Where are you? If we want to see a different world, we need to share a different story with our young people. Now, I personally, I'm developing a curricula for public school, and I took this curricula, sharing much of what we're doing, not everything, but sharing a lot of the new discoveries. The fact that nature's based in cooperation, for example, I think is fundamental. The fact that we don't really know where we come from. I'm not saying what we are, but be honest and say we don't, but there's something really special about us, to put the specialness, the sanctity of life. So kids aren't cyberbullying other kids. You wouldn't cyberbully someone that you feel special about, and you wouldn't hurt yourself when you feel special. So I took this curricula and I talked to a publisher. And I said, will you partner with me to bring this to public school? I'm going to tell you the exact words from the publisher. They said, whatever you do, Greg, don't bring me a book on peace, because peace doesn't sell. Don't bring me a book on public education, because it's not going to sell. They said, if you want to develop this, you're on your own. All right, so in 2015, I was nominated, and the nomination was accepted for the very prestigious Templeton Award. It is pegged to, it's the Nobel Prize of Science and Spirituality is what it is. It's a 5-year standing nomination. So I've got until 2020, and should I be blessed with that award, those funds are earmarked to kick into high gear the development of it's a video development, it's very expensive, development of this curricula. If it doesn't, I'm doing it anyway, it just takes longer because I'm paying for it. But there is a demand, and I have teachers, and I've had teachers in this room come to me and say, we have a way to get this into our classrooms, even in the mainstream. So I think it's going to be kind of like when that wall fell in 1989. When it starts, there's going to be a wave, because what they'll find is that the young people, they learn easier, they learn faster, they're more interested, it's more relevant, they feel better about themselves. They're going to see the statistics of hate drop, and other schools are going to say, I want what they're having. And I think that's the way it's going to happen. So there is an effort to do this. It's not being supported from the top down. It's got to be us choosing to teach our young people a new story. And it's a story that is based on the deepest truths of our existence, not the false assumptions of an obsolete science.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good question.
I want to add something else about young adults, because they're written off as snowflakes and, people who don't have any interest in changing things. They don't have any interest in even paying attention. They have no attention span. This is what millennials are talked about all the time, the special generation. I was really fascinated to be in New York last December. There was a little-known conference. It was just going to be a little debate being run by a small magazine, a socialist magazine called Jacobin. And they had decided to call it The Future of Capitalism, ? And they were going to have people from a libertarian magazine versus people from their magazine debate. Now, this should have been an event that had 50 people in it, right? They got a big venue. It sold out in a couple of days, 450 people. So they moved it to a larger venue. It sold out. It was 900 people. It sold out another day later. Guess who the audience were? Overwhelmingly young people in their 20s and early 30s. For them, capitalism is the god that failed. They're not seeing any kind of benefit from this. They're seeing that they're going to live in worse circumstances than their parents now for the first generation in many years. And they're starting to question all kinds of things. And when you start looking at the stats for millennials, they are much more socially conscious. They are voting with their wallet, as Bruce says. They're avoiding companies that they think are not working with integrity. And so this kind of disparaging of the young people and saying they don't care, they're not conscious, is completely false. They are, and they can be enlisted in this new movement. I really want to encourage us to do things like that.
So I'd like to close this panel by asking all three of you if anyone here will be the last thing you will be able to hear from you, what would your advice would be?
Shine on, you crazy diamonds. Shine on. Go ahead. All seriousness aside.
Yeah, I think the most important understanding right now is that what's going on in the world, the chaos you see is we're in the exact place we're supposed to be for evolution. The evolution says you cannot build a sustainable world on the foundation that we have right now because that's causing the sixth mass extinction. So when you see the upheaval happening, rather than being afraid, I would be out in the front line saying, yeah, let's keep going, because the only way we're going to change is that we have to leave the old one behind. It is corrupt, broken, destructive of individuals, and destructive of the world. The millennials, to me, are the generation that says, I'm not involved. And why is it important they're not involved? Because a government can only stand as long as the people support it. And now that we have 50% about millennials, guess what? They're not supporting this system. And that means we're on the verge of a collapse of the existing system and the creation of a brand new system. So I don't live in fear, I live in excitement, because I know what the excitement is all about. The excitement is to get us from this place to the place that we will be able to thrive on this planet. And so rather than waking up and looking at the news and going, oh my God, Trump's doing this, and then I get up and go, two legs, unfortunately. The one who's a citizen goes, oh no. And the one who's the evolutionary biologist goes, thank God. Why? He's destroying the system faster than anybody else could have done it.
Yeah. It has to be. You know, if I came to this world from another world and they dropped me off in Nanaimo for 3 minutes, and then they said, we're going to come and pick you up. So whatever you're going to say it in 3 minutes. What I would say, and I'm inviting you to really appreciate that this is no ordinary time in the history of our planet, in the history of our civilization, in the history of any nation, our nation, your nation, in the history of our evolution. It's no ordinary time. We are living a rare, precious window where cycles are converging to turn everything that we have held true upside down, and the stuff that's not true is falling away, and the stuff that is true, it's still true. It's not going to change. And we got to find out what's true and what's not. And one of the things that's not true is the story of us and where we've come from. There's something so unique, so special, so precious about human life. And we take it for granted because we're steeped in the story of not being special. But when we really understand how we function, what we find is we're wired. You are designed, you're wired to thrive in exactly these kinds of times. And the world is pushing you to the edge of who you believe you are so that you can unlock the mystery of your deepest truth and soar to the heights of your greatest potential, if you simply say yes. And that is what these gatherings are all about. And I would say I am so deeply appreciative, I'm so grateful. Thank you for your trust in allowing myself and my friends and colleagues to share what we have shared over these hours. And it's not over yet. We've got more today, but what we've done in here together, because this is where the new story begins. That's what I would say. Thank you. Thank you. And then I get on my ship and go home.
Finally, I think that one of the problems with our current situation is that we've all come to believe we're so powerless. You know, there's nothing we can do about it. We need them to fix it for us. And I think that's the real misnomer. One of the messages I really wanted to give to you with our Power of 8 groups is to demonstrate to you exactly how powerful you are. I mean, in a heartbeat, in 5 minutes, you healed a bunch of people in this room. We're still hearing about healings. You may have healed yourself. We've seen in 10 minutes a little intention with the groups of Arabs and Israelis, healed wounds that seem to be unhealable in an instant. That's how powerful we are. That's what we really have inside of ourselves. And that's the new story we have to buy into now. As Bruce says, in this breakdown, we know, we all sense this is the end of something. We've heard everything from it's the end of food, it's the end of oil, it's probably the beginning of the end of the world, all of this stuff. In this ending is the only path to a better future. As you say, embrace it, but also understand the power you have inside of yourself. Don't listen to that story. Don't think that they have to come from the outside and fix you. Don't think that it only is going to be in the hands of the politicians. We don't need them to fix things for ourselves. We need to start a movement. And the big question I want to leave to all of you, it's like that wonderful poem, First They Came. It was written after the Second World War. First they came for, the union members, but I was not a union member, so I did not speak up. Then they came for the Catholics, and I was not a Catholic, so I did not speak up. Then they came for the Jews, but I was not a Jew, so I did not speak up. Then they came for me, and there was no one to speak for me. And we're sort of at that period of time now. A lot of us are still turning around saying, well, what's the president going to do about this? Or what's the prime minister going to do about this? Or how are we going to deal with this with the hospitals or the doctors or whatever? Forget all of that. The big question is, what are you going to do about it? We have to enlist, all of us are now. I want to ask you and leave you with one big question. What's going to be your contribution to making a better world?
So please give a warm thanks to Ms. Lynn McTaggart, Greg Braden, and Dr. Bruce Lipton for sharing their time in this panel with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.